Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. Today's video is going to be my first quarter no-buy recap. So let's go ahead and get into it. So if you watched my 2023 goals video, you will know that I did a no-buy for the months of January through March. So that equated to a first quarter no-buy. And for the no-buy, there were a couple of rules in place. So for instance, I was only looking at skincare and makeup items, and my no-buy was not a full no-buy, but rather a replacements only no-buy. And by that I mean that when I used up all the items in a specific category, only then could I purchase something new to replace said items. So for instance, if I wanted to buy a new moisturizer, I had to make sure I used all of the moisturizers up in my collection first, including any little sample sizes, before I could purchase another one. I didn't purchase a moisturizer. I was just using that as an example, but that's what I mean by replacements only. So I did do a recap of January's no-buy. I will link that up above, but I did not manage to do a recap for February or March because in both February and March, I got sick and that really ate up my filming time because I just was not feeling very well and didn't want to sit down in front of a camera. So because of that, I am going to just pretend January's didn't exist. I'm gonna go ahead and go through the things that I picked up in January, and then I will do February's and March's just to get a complete look at the handful of items that I did purchase on my no-buy. And then I'm going to talk about some things that I learned about my habits and things that I am going to probably avoid purchasing in the future. So that's kind of how this is going to work out. So I did write down my purchases for the months, and I'm going to go ahead, as I said, and start with January, even though I already talked about this one, and then just finish out and let you know the total amount of money that I did spend. So let's go ahead and just move right on in. So January was actually the month where I made the most purchases, which is interesting, but I think that I'd run out of things like towards the tail end of December, so I had to go ahead and replace some things. So the first purchase that I had made in January was from Number 7. I needed a new under eye setting powder and I needed a new nighttime eye cream. So I decided to do both from Number 7, and I picked up this eye cream, which is the Pure Retinol eye cream, and then I picked up the Translucent Perfect Light pressed powder. So those were my two purchases. The powder was $12.99 and the eye cream was $27.99. So a little bit pricey, but not terrible. I am probably going to try to find something less expensive though when I need to repurchase. So these were the two purchases from Number 7. And then I also purchased a couple items from Sephora. And one of those was something that I had been waiting to come back in stock for a super long time, like I'm talking a couple months, and that was the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. And then I had also used up the niacinamide serum that I had from Acure, so since I was placing that Sephora order, I went ahead and replaced my niacinamide from Sephora. And for that, I did the niacinamide from the Inkey List. Now, this is pretty inexpensive. This was $9.99. The concealer is a little bit more pricey. It's $32, but this is like my ride or die, y'all. I have used this for years. It's the only thing that I truly feel like covers dark spots, blemishes, etc., and stays on my skin really well. So I'm happy to pay the price for this because I know that this is by far my favorite. So those were the two things that I did pick up from Sephora. And then I made one other purchase, and that was for a like a setting powder for my whole face, not just the under eyes. I have to be very particular about my under eyes. I have dryness, texture, so some things don't look the best under my under eyes, which is why I specifically went with the number 7 powder. But for my face powder, I actually chose the one from Estetica, which retailed for $19.97. And it is a huge container, so there is, let me see if it even says back here. It says that it has 0.2 grams. I don't know, honestly. It says not like the weight of it is that, but I feel like it's more than that. This is huge. So like, I have been using this since January, and you can see I still have like half the product left. You don't need a ton of this when you set your face, so I feel like that helps. I do apply it with the puff that it came with, and for $19.97 to get this much product is a win in my book. So those were the January purchases. Again, this is just a recap, but I spent a total of $102.94 in January. So knowing that I had spent some significant cash in the first month, I wanted to try to limit what I needed to purchase in the next 2 months, even though I had money set aside because I did set myself a $1,200 budget for the year. I didn't want to keep spending a ton of money because that kind of defeats the purpose of the no buy. So in February, I actually only needed to pick up 2 more products. And these were both replacements because I only had one other one in my collection at the time. So the first thing I had to pick up was a new cleansing balm. So I went with the Rokiss One Step All-in-One Cleansing Balm. It looks like this. It has this flip-up lid that's got the little spatula right here. You lift this up and it has the product inside of it. This was not terribly expensive, and I felt like you got a good amount of product, which is why I went with this one. I looked at several different options for a cleansing balm. I have to be careful because I don't like certain kind of oils on my face, and I don't like certain kinds of scents because I just don't like the smell of them. So I really took a lot of time to read reviews before I settled on a cleansing balm. And when I picked this one up, this one was $13.99. So I feel like that's a very good price for this product. And so far, I've found that you don't need a ton of it to remove your makeup. So I feel like I will get several months use out of this, but obviously we'll play that by ear. But I have been using this since February and have really been enjoying it. I would recommend it. So this was a very good purchase, and I could see myself repurchasing, assuming that it does last a decently long time to get through all of the product. And then the other item that I had to replace was my face sunscreen. And I was looking around at various ones. I liked the one from Sun Bum that I was using, but Target does not carry that, even though I thought that it did. So when I was perusing, I decided to just pick up something different. And I actually went with this Australian Gold Botanical 50 Tinted Face Sunscreen. This is a chemical sunscreen, and typically I prefer mineral sunscreens, but this one was what they had available. I really like a tint. That's just my preference. I prefer a tint. It helps even out my skin tone so I can use less foundation. So that's what I really wanted. I liked the 50 SPF, and this was $16.99. And I am actually really enjoying this. I think I like this actually better than the Sun Bum one, even though that one had more of that moussey texture that I was looking for, because my ultimate favorite sunscreen is one from Supergoop, but it's pricey, and so I really wanted like drugstore options. As I mentioned, I want to spend less money on things, so that's why I went ahead and tried this one, and I'm really glad I picked this up because I think this could become my new favorite. So $16.99 for this one, so not bad. I do really enjoy this, so I feel like this was a solid purchase. So in February, I spent a total of $30.98, much better than the $102 that I had spent in January. And then I did even better in March because I only picked up one new product, and that product was the Grande Brow Enhancing Serum. It comes like this. Now this is super expensive, but I had to make a return to Amazon for a pair of jeans that just did not look or fit the way that they were supposed to, and those jeans were pretty pricey. So because of that, I got like a refund to my Amazon account, which means that I only had to pay $13.73 for this instead of the $73 that this usually retails at. But this is the best brow serum that I have found. I have tried many, many, many of them, and I feel like this one's the only one that truly does anything for me personally. So this is another one of those items that even though the price tag is absolutely insane, I'm going to continue to pay it because I feel like it works. So again, this will count towards my beauty budget like as I go, but I was able to get this one on a pretty stiff discount because of that refund. So I only paid $13.73 in the month of March on new beauty items. So yay for that, getting this at a discount, definitely the way to go. So that means in January, February, and March, I spent a total of $147.65 on beauty products. And the goal, of course, was $300 because I'd set a $100 budget for each month of 2023. So I was under that by quite a bit. Very pleased with that, which means I do have a little bit of extra money to spend, like as the year goes on, extra money in terms of like the monthly budget that I put in my head. And I'm very pleased that I only managed to pick up that handful of products. So that was 8 new items that I brought into my collection in the first 3 months, and I got rid of a lot more than that. If you're curious about my empties for January and February, I can link that video up above, but obviously I put a lot more out of my collection than I'd brought in, which is also my ultimate goal because I want to try to curate my skincare collection down to a usable amount of products, to just the basics, the things that I really feel like I need. So on that note, let's talk about some things that I learned about my skincare habits, and we're gonna start with exfoliators, liquid exfoliators. So I am very guilty of picking up products based on other people's recommendations for them without really thinking about how they will work for me personally. So at one point in my skincare collection, I had a ton of liquid chemical exfoliants, but through working through products, not bringing in new things, I am down to 2. So I want to talk about these 2 specifically because what my goal was to decide what type of product works the best. So this is the Paula's Choice Exfoliate 2% BHA liquid exfoliant. It is a salicylic acid exfoliant. And then I also have this one, which I cannot pronounce, so I'm gonna let you read it. This is from Crave Beauty. This is an AHA. So my decision making was between whether the BHA or the AHA is really the best way for me personally to go. Now, a little bit of background. I have oily, acne-prone skin. However, my skin typically does not respond particularly positively to BHAs. And by that, I mean BHAs don't seem to do much of anything for me in terms of acne prevention. I have to have a benzoyl peroxide product in my routine to really keep my acne under control. So that was a knock against this one because this is a BHA. So I thought, okay, I'll pick it up because everyone raves about it and it's almost gone. But I also have heard good things about AHAs. This is a fairly gentle one, so I picked this one up as well. Not this year, obviously. I'm talking last year. And then I was trying to decide what is actually the best product for me. My thought was that this one actually didn't do a whole lot. I'd used it pretty regularly and I personally was not seeing the results that a lot of people talked about. However, using this only every other week or so seems to really actually be doing some really good things for the blackheads on my nose. I am very blackhead prone on my nose and my chin. I used this one week when I was pretty congested and I woke up the next morning and it had actually done what everyone else has been raving that it does for them. So that was interesting because, as I mentioned, BHAs by themselves typically don't do a whole lot for me, but I'm wondering if it's because I was using so many different chemical exfoliants like over and over again that maybe I just wasn't seeing how well this one can actually work. On the other hand, this one doesn't seem to do anything for me. So my thought process is, okay, you know what? Maybe this one really is a pretty good product for me to keep in my collection, whereas AHAs now need to not be something that I pick up again. So obviously I'm going to keep playing around with these. I'm going to finish them both up. This one's going to be finished before this one, so then I can really possibly tell if this one does much of anything. But probably as of right now, once I finish this, I'm thinking this may not be something that I need to repurchase. Not this specifically, but an AHA. And perhaps this one really is the way to go. So this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about when I'm talking about really thinking about my skincare collection and what I actually need, because I do want a chemical exfoliant in my collection. I don't use it every day, that would be ridiculous, but I typically use one once a week, and I feel like that also helps with acne prevention. And this might be the one that I just continue to repurchase. So yes, that is just 2 items that I was doing some thinking on and realizing, you know what? I can kind of understand why everyone raves about this one. Another goal that I set for myself was to use up all of those little mini samples that you get from Sephora. So I typically keep those samples in this drawer. This used to be completely full. So if you can see, I am down to just a handful of items, and a lot of these are masks, clay masks in particular. So I have like a couple of, actually three masks. I have the Exfoliate, which is another chemical exfoliant. I am left with 1 eye primer sample, 1 moisturizer sample, and some of these like lip glosses. I think they're lipstick samples. I don't know that I will actually ever use these, but I kept them because, you know, maybe I'll try them out. I also have the Watermelon Glow sleeping mask from Glow Recipe left, and then I have a spot cream and another like liquid exfoliant, which is this one right here. But this used to be packed full of face cleansers, moisturizers, tinted sunscreens, all that, and I am down to just this little bit left. So I feel like that is a very positive step that I have been able to take to really use up some of these items and get them out of my collection. That was kind of another goal that I had with this no buy, was to really try to get this stuff used up. So I'm very happy with where we're at. I feel like this could potentially be all used up by the end of the second quarter, and then we can start over and actually only keep samples that I'm actually really interested in. I should say I did go through these at the end of 2021 and got rid of stuff that I was not interested in. So this is what we're left with, and I will see what it looks like at the end of the second quarter of the year, because I do actually feel like I could probably get these used up, and that would be a really big success. The other thing, the final thing that I have learned so far about my skincare collection is that I don't feel the need to purchase super expensive vitamin C serums. So I have used some very expensive ones. I've done the Drunk Elephant, I've done the Sunday Riley, I've done some expensive ones. The one that I'm currently using right now is from Sephora. It's this little mini. It's another one of those like sample things that I'm trying to get through. This is officially the last vitamin C serum that I have in my collection. And what I've realized is that I don't think there's really much of a difference between all of those vitamin C serums that I have tried. So this one, in my opinion, is doing the same thing that the more expensive ones were doing, and this one's way less expensive. Now, am I going to specifically repurchase this one from Sephora? Not necessarily. I'm just saying I truly have kind of come to the realization that more expensive products don't mean better products. Now, in some cases, that is not the case. There are a couple of things that I am willing to spend money on. However, vitamin C serums are no longer one of them. So that was kind of an interesting thing to see and realize that I can save some money by avoiding those super expensive products. Just because other people rave about them doesn't mean they're actually the best thing out there. And that was kind of something else nice to learn. I can save some money on some products that honestly don't have the best shelf life, because vitamin C does not have a great shelf life. And you're spending all of that money on a product that really only lasts a handful of months, because once it becomes exposed to air, vitamin C goes bad very, very quickly. So just saying, maybe that's something that will help you out as well in the future. But yeah, just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's better. And that's kind of all I have for you with this no-buy recap. Now, I am kind of continuing this no-buy on into April because I do have some products that I want to go ahead and get used up. I am eyeballing some new products that I am hoping to bring into my collection at some point, especially some makeup items. But all in all, I'm really pleased with how my collection is looking. I have a few things that I want to get used up, like the AHA that I showed you just a couple minutes ago. But I feel like overall my collection's in a very good place. And the next thing I want to kind of turn my attention to are hair care products, because I have quite a few things lingering around. I haven't bought anything new in terms of hair care except for a shampoo and a conditioner, because I'd used up my previous ones. But I think that might be my next focus. Try to get through those items, get those used up, because they've been around for a long time. But anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, everyone.